Hello guys, it's me, Monster Boy, that you can see. Today we're gonna watch storybooth animations. Yeah, I'm just gonna turn on the light. So, let's begin. Storybooth, really fun. Subscribe to our storybooth and subscribe to me. Hit that bell.
It was like a couple days before the last day of school, so like everyone was pumped because it was almost summer break. My friend, he asked me, he's like, can you bring your vape to school? And I obviously said yes because he was like one of my best friends. Since the vape wasn't mine, I had a...
Don't vape at school. That is the first thing I'm gonna say. Don't vape at school.
grab it from my brother's room. So in the morning, I snitched the vape and put it in my backpack. I took it and I went in the car like, nothing going on here. And I get dropped off, and then I go up to the front gate, and my friend's already waiting there for me. So then we went into the school and tried finding a place for, like, you know, the vape. The hallways were, like, crowded with supervisors, and the bathroom was the only way. So me and my friend went into the bathroom while my guy friend and his friend stayed outside, and we started vaping. And one of my friends came in and says, what are you guys doing? And I blew the smoke right in her face. And then after that, we left and went.
I already knew it. She gonna say it. You're gonna be.
To class. Little did I know, the girl that saw me vaping actually went to go snitch on me. So she went up to the office and reported me. So then I was in class, and a supervisor comes in the class and goes up to my teacher and talks to her. And then the teacher says, where are you, Roxy? And then I raised my hand, and the supervisor came up to my desk, and she was like, where are your things? And I told her, these are my things. They weren't really my things. They were my friends' things. Because obviously, if I said my backpack was mine, the vape was inside of it. I went up to the office walking with the supervisor, and then I walked into the vice principal's office, and she was telling me that I got reported for vaping and that she needed to pat me down and to look into my stuff and everything to make sure if I had the vape or not. So obviously, since this was not my backpack, there was no vape inside. And she got suspicious and asked me to tell her the truth, like, where is the vape? And I told her it's in the classroom, and I told her it was in a backpack. And then they brought my friend up and my backpack, and that's when my friend confessed to saying that my backpack was the one that she had, in the backpack I brought up to the office was not my backpack. And that's when the vice principal got really, like, mad and started saying, I cannot trust you anymore. Like, you really disobeyed me. You really lied to me. I'm not able to trust you anymore. So then that's when my friend left, and like I was in the office still, and she was like saying she's gonna have to email my parents and tell them that they had to come pick me up because I got suspended. So then when I got in the car, I was crying, obviously, and my brother was just ranting at me. And I got home and I got my phone taken away. I got grounded for the whole summer. Just stayed in my house doing nothing and no phone. So I was just pretty much sitting on the couch drawing or doing whatever. And that definitely taught me a lesson to not bring a vape to school anymore. And yeah, don't.
Yeah, the first thing I'm gonna say, don't vape at school. That is illegal. Don't vape at school. Or that can happen. But yeah, kids, don't vape at school. You're gonna get in trouble.
Summer break was right around the corner, and my school had decided to throw an end of the year middle school party to celebrate all of our accomplishments. It was the day before the party, and during lunch period, me and my friends were all talking about what we would wear, who was going, etc. As we talked, I remember having some painful stomach cramps, but blamed it on the cafeteria food and thought nothing of it. When the school day was finally over and I was at home, I was rummaging in my closet for something nice to wear for the party and decided on a nice casual white dress. Unfortunately, my cramps came back while I was helping my mom with dinner, but once again I ignored them. The following morning, I woke up and began getting ready. It was a Saturday, the day of the party, and I was a bit nervous since so many people were planning to go, but I tried to focus on the positives. While I was in my mom's car driving to the school, my cramps once again came back. I told my mom, but she reassured me I would be fine and it was just the butterflies in my stomach. I decided to deal with it and go to the party anyway. Once I arrived, my mom waved me goodbye, and I saw my friends standing by the school gym entrance. They complimented my dress, and we headed inside the large gym, barely managing to get through the large crowds of middle schoolers. The gym itself was decorated with colorful banners and was packed with kids. My friends explained that they were going to say hi to some others, so me and my friend Katie stayed and just goofed around. Suddenly, I heard some kids laughing behind me, and Katie's eyes widened as she stared down at me and whispered, "Mal, look down." Nervously, I lowered my head and saw that my legs and my dress were covered in blood. As a sixth grader who had just got their first period, I slowly looked around and realized everyone was staring and laughing at me. I felt my face turn red, and Katie quickly snatched me and ran out of the gym. My other friends followed us to the bathroom, and we handled the situation by getting me a pad and calling my mom. I was so embarrassed. My mom picked me up, and while I was in the car, I checked my Snapchat to see if anyone had posted anything about the party. I was upset to find that some of the kids I had added as friends and actually trusted took a picture of me and tagged me on their stories. I felt awful and unfriended them, but knew they were probably talking about me back at that party. When we got home, my mom wanted to make me feel better, so we ordered pizza, watched movies, and joked about what happened back at that party. Overall, it made me feel better, and I learned two things from this experience. One is to always have some friends that will have your back and will not make fun of you. And two, always have some pads with you.
No, I don't want to have that with me all the time. I will look like a freak man. Yes, I have. I can. I don't have a word. Yeah, it's just a new one.
Oh my god, we totally jumped out the.
That one. Oh, why now? When?
So, me and my cousin Sadie went to this mini fair. We got our tickets, we got snacks, and we saw this really cool ride. And she was like, "Hey, do you want to go on that ride?" And I was like, "Sure, why not?" So we went to go line up, and I'm not joking, that line took forever. That ride was like 50 years long. I don't know if that makes sense, but anyways, we waited in line until it was our turn, and we had to wait on the ride for about 20 minutes until we had enough people to even it out. And it started going. And I had my phone in my hand recording me on the ride. So I was only holding on with one hand, and I was on the outside of the ride, and my cousin was on the inside of the ride, so I was in more danger. The ride started going, and we were going in circles. And then all of a sudden, it got really crazy, really fast, and super bumpy. So I was on that ride, bumping around everywhere. My cousin was laughing, having fun, and I was getting whipped around right next to her. I couldn't do anything about it. And then there was this one turn. We were at the very top, and our cart did a spin. My body almost flew out of the whole ride. And I was crying. I was like, turn it off, turn it off. I was screaming at the operator to turn it off, and he was just looking at me like, what is happening? I watched the video on my phone, and I looked so scared. So, me and my cousin, she had fun. I didn't. I was crying. I was scared. But thinking about it now, it was kind of fun. So, don't fly out of fair rides.
That it's not our fault if we fell off, because yeah,
Oh my god, we totally jumped out the cliff and had to zoom all the way to shore because the dog chased us all the way to the end.
When I was in 6th grade, I had the new teacher at school, and she was just fresh out of grad school. She was literally 22 years old. She was really nice, but she kind of just had no idea what she was doing in the classroom. And the whole year, it was just kind of like a roller coaster of up and down emotions. Sometimes she'd get so stressed out and just start crying in the middle of class and would be like, oh my god, I'm just like so stressed. You guys are just awful. And of course, everyone in my class kind of picked up on the fact that she had like no idea what she was doing. So they all just made it worse for her by like thinking they could do whatever they wanted. And that just made her cry more. And everything just got so stressful. And there was just really no structure in the class. So one day we were in the classroom and we were studying ancient Greece, and suddenly I just saw her face go completely white, and she was looking at the clock. So me and all the other kids in the class just looked up at the clock too, but instead of it saying the time, it said bell. And I later found out that bell was the code word for a real lockdown, but I didn't know that yet. So my classmates and I just watched as she scrambled to lock the door, closed the blinds, and then she instructed us to hide in the corner of the room. And then she just says, stay quiet, we're in a lockdown. And she was in tears at this point. She was shaking and she was curled up in the corner behind her desk. This was the moment when I realized this wasn't a lockdown drill. This was an actual lockdown. And I was freaked out. I just straight up asked her, are we gonna die? And
Here
she looked
comes
at me, and as bravely as possible, she said, I don't know.
Kikumami.
And that literally just sent
Kikumami.
the whole class into tears. Some kids were even trying to jump out the window. My teacher was screaming at them that if there's someone in this building, there could be more people outside waiting to get you. I was just freaked out. The whole time, I was literally just thinking about dying. It's so morbid, but I was. And I was thinking about like what I hadn't done in my life yet and what more I had to do. And I was basically thinking of my last seconds. And then all of a sudden there's a knock on the door. And we all just like shot up. We thought this was the intruder. First of all, why would the intruder knock on the door? We all just stay there and we don't know what to do, even my teacher. And then there's another knock on the door and my teacher gets up and she goes to the door. And it's another teacher. It's the teacher next door. The teacher next door asks what we're doing. And then my teacher's like, what? Isn't there a lockdown? The teacher next door goes, no, they were just fixing the clock and that message came on. So then we all kind of got up from the corner. We were like, wait, there was no lockdown? Then I looked into the hallway and then everything was just normal. Kids were in class, they were laughing, they were walking up and down the hall, doing their homework. There was literally no lockdown. The only class in lockdown was our class. Since that day, I've experienced a lot more lockdowns. They're really upsetting and scary, and I just wish it wasn't a reality of the world we live in.
Oh, that would be very scary.
Oh my god, we totally jumped out the cliff and had to zoom all
That
the way.
would be very scary. But that have never happened to me or him.
I posted a picture on my Instagram of me underwater, and I thought this was such a cool picture because I had just gotten my new GoPro, and I thought it was so cool that I was able to take a picture underwater. All of a sudden, like a million texts started coming through on my phone from a group chat that I was part of. The first text in the chat was a screenshot of the picture that I had just posted on my Instagram. I was kind of confused, so I read the text below it, and it said really mean things about my body and how I looked, and then I scrolled a few comments down and there was more stuff chiming in about my bathing suit and my necklace and all this crazy stuff. and I was just shocked. These were people I'd gone to school with my whole life, and I've always considered them my friends, and I realized they must have not known that I was in this group chat, because they probably wouldn't have said any of this to my face. And I went over to the mirror, and I just began to feel really worthless, and I just examined myself and started feeling like everything they had been saying about me was true. And then I just started to cry. I just cried, let all my feelings out. My phone began to blow up faster and faster than before, till I actually thought it was about to literally blow up and like fire would spread everywhere. People were still talking about me, and I just got so mad at that point. And I needed to say my part in this. I wanted to stand up for myself now. So I picked up my phone and I texted in the group chat. Sorry to interrupt, but I am here and I've been reading your texts this whole time. What you guys are doing is really wrong, and I love the picture that I took. There was silence. The texting had stopped, and I didn't let their mean words change the way I felt about myself. I made the very picture they made fun of my new profile picture.
Yeah. Thanks.
When I was in grade 8, I had a best friend named Chloe. We hung out on the swings at
Here's
recess, we
your
sat together
glasses.
at lunch and traded sandwiches from time to time, and we always took the same bus home after school. We were like two peas in a pod, rarely separated. Well, that soon changed when Chloe got a boyfriend halfway through the year. He was a boy named Tom that was known as one of the school's biggest bullies. Everyone was extremely intimidated by him and tried to stay on his good side.
Don't be a bully.
Once I had seen him throw a kid's backpack over the roof of the school for no reason. He just seemed to take pleasure in ruining people's days. So when Chloe asked me to sit with him and his friends at lunch every day, I couldn't say no. I didn't want to lose her as a friend, and I didn't want to upset him. So I pretended to support their relationship, even though I knew Tom was a bad guy. Well, one day a new girl named Jenna was introduced to our class. She looked very shy and nervous and had no one to sit with at lunch, so she sat by herself. I timidly asked Tom and his friends if I could invite her to sit with us, and they instantly started laughing, as if I had told them a hilarious joke. Tom then picked up a couple chips from his lunch and threw them over at her table where she was quietly reading a book. She looked startled but didn't try to stand up for herself. I remember feeling so bad for her in that moment, but I didn't have the courage to say anything. For the next week, Tom and his friends would bother her during lunchtime. They would roll up pieces of paper to throw in her hair and would constantly call her the weird loner girl. I was so shocked that Chloe was allowing her boyfriend to treat another human being this way, and I started feeling really embarrassed that I was sitting with these horrible bullies. Because by not standing up for Jenna, I looked like one too. So the next day I finally decided to make a change, even if I knew it would impact me negatively. So instead of sitting with Chloe and Tom, I went and sat beside Jenna. She looked really happy to finally have someone to keep her company. But right away, I noticed that Tom and his friends were giving me dirty looks and whispering to each other. And it didn't take long for them to start treating me the way they did her. Crumpled paper was thrown at me, and I was beginning to be called Weird Girl number 2. But all I can think was, at least Jenna isn't going through this alone. I finally decided that this was enough and took Jenna with me to see the principal. We tried the best we could to tell her what was happening, but she told us that if there was no proof of bullying, she couldn't do anything. Whenever a teacher was around, Tom would act normal, and the minute she left the room for a few minutes, he would continue harassing us. It was a very difficult time, but every time Jenna would tell me how thankful she was for my friendship, it was so worth it. So one day I heard that there was a hate page online about Jenna that was started by Tom and his friends. It had an unbelievable amount of likes and follows on it. They would take pictures of her and post them with terrible captions. They would quote things that she said and gossip about some of the things she did during the day. And as unfortunate and sick as it was finally the proof we needed to give to the principal. The police actually ended up getting involved, and Jenna was never picked on again after that. I'm very proud of myself for stepping out of my comfort zone to stand up for her, because if I didn't, I'm not sure if she would have had the confidence to do it herself. Some people need that extra push from someone else that is willing to support them. So if you ever see someone being bullied, Don't just be a bystander. Do something about it. Your actions could greatly change someone's life for the better.
Oh my god, we totally jumped off the cliff and had to zoom all the way to shore because the dog chased us all the way to the end.
Yeah,
That was the video.
that is the video. This
Comment down below what you want to see next.
yeah. See you next time. Bye.